We're going to be looking at some of the intense themes of prophecy and judgment.
Yeah, big talk.
Consequences of turning away from faith.
Absolutely.
And to do that, we're going to be diving into a chapter from the Book of Helaman in the Book of Mormon.
Okay.
And looking specifically at the prophet Nephi's interactions with a society that was consumed by corruption.
That's right. And it's fascinating to see how the text really portrays the role of the prophet here.
Yeah.
I mean, Nephi isn't giving comforting messages. He's directly confronting the people in power.
Right.
And calling out their wickedness and putting himself at risk by doing so.
He really doesn't hold back, does he?
Not at all.
You know, in Helaman 8.4, he goes straight up to these corrupt judges and accuses them of secret works of darkness.
Yeah, powerful image.
Can you imagine that kind of courage to speak truth to power?
It's really a testament to the weight of a prophet's responsibility in this context.
Yeah.
I mean, they're tasked with speaking truth no matter how unpopular or dangerous it might be.
Yeah.
And you can see Nephi putting his own safety on the line because he believes the people need to hear this message.
Yeah, absolutely. And so how did the people react to this message?
Well, it's a real mixed bag.
Okay.
You know, some people are deeply affected by his words. They believe him, like it says in Helaman 8.79.
Yeah.
And they're fearful of the judgment that he's warning about.
Right.
But on the other hand, you have folks who become angry.
Yeah.
They completely reject his authority as a prophet.
Like we see in verses 5 and 6.
Exactly.
Yeah, that sounds sadly pretty familiar.
Doesn't it?
Even today, when you think about it.
Yeah.
People often react with anger or denial when they're confronted with challenging truths.
It's a very human thing.
Why do you think that is?
Well, psychologists would say that it's about cognitive dissonance. This uncomfortable mental state that happens when you've got new information that clashes with what you already believe.
So it's easier to reject the new information.
Right. It's much simpler than wrestling with that inner conflict.
So then how does Nephi try to break through that resistance?
Right.
Does he just, pronounce doom, or does he offer something more to support his claim?
No, he's more strategic than that.
Okay.
He actually uses really powerful examples from their shared history to make his points.
Okay.
Like in Helaman 8.11, he reminds them of Moses parting the Red Sea. What a brilliant move.
Yeah, because that's such a well-known story.
Right.
That demonstrates God's power.
Exactly. It's almost like he's saying, look, you already believe in God's power to do this.
Right.
Why would you doubt his ability to bring about the judgments that I'm warning about?
That's a great point, because it's like he's connecting it to their own existing beliefs.
Exactly.
And the story of the Red Sea
is
such a powerful symbol of overcoming impossible odds.
Absolutely. It really underscores that God can act in ways that we don't expect.
But even with this evidence, some people still reject Nephi's message.
Yeah, it's as though they're rejecting not just Nephi, but a whole lineage of prophets.
And he calls them out for that.
He does.
In Helaman 8:113 through 18, for rejecting not just his words, but the words of prophets like Moses and Abraham.
Prophets who foretold the coming of Christ.
Right. And this, to me, is a very crucial point.
Absolutely.
Because there's a consistency in the message of prophets across generations.
It's a recurring theme.
That's right. And so the rejection of Nephi is even more significant because they're ignoring this pattern.
Right. They're willfully ignoring a message that God has been trying to send for centuries.
Exactly. And that brings us to the heart of Nephi's message, which are the consequences of turning away from the truth.
Yeah, the repercussions of choosing wickedness.
Yeah. And he doesn't shy away from detailing those spiritual consequences, does he?
No, he's very specific in Helaman 8.25 through 28.
Okay.
He actually calls out sins that are prevalent in their society.
Wow.
Like murder and fornication.
Yeah, there's real urgency in his words.
Absolutely.
I think it'd be helpful if you could read Helaman 8.25 for our listeners.
Of course. But behold, ye have rejected the truth, and rebelled against your holy God. And even at this time, instead of laying up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where nothing doth corrupt, and where nothing can come which is unclean, ye are heaping up for yourselves wrath against the day of judgment.
Wow, those words are so powerful.
Aren't they?
Especially that image of heaping up wrath.
Yes.
Really drives home that point that our choices have consequences.
Not just in this life, but in eternity as well.
Yeah, it's not just about individual actions.
Right.
It's about the collective choices of a society.
The weight of those choices can be devastating.
And that brings us to a really chilling part of this chapter.
Yes.
At the very end, Nephi reveals this shocking event.
The The murder of a judge.
Right, in verse 27.
Yeah, and he connects it directly to the Gadianton robbers.
Yeah, this corrupt secret society.
Which shows this escalation of sin and violence that's really concerning.
It makes you wonder what will happen to them if they continue down this path.
It certainly does. Yeah, that murder really is a wake-up call.
Isn't it?
It's like it exposes how deep this rot has gone in the society.
Yeah.
He's not just talking about like bad choices.
Right.
It's like a systemic problem.
Yeah.
A secret combination.
You've used that word combination a few times.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I'm familiar with it.
Okay, so it refers to this secret society, the Gadianton robbers.
Okay.
You know, they're working in the shadows, they're undermining the law,
Okay.
and they're really spreading their corrupting influence all through Nephi's society.
So they're not just a band of thieves.
Right.
There's something much bigger, more insidious.
Yeah, it's like a cancer.
Both?
You know, it starts small. Maybe you don't even notice it at first.
Right.
But it spreads and corrupts everything it touches.
And who's this Gadianton guy?
Oh, yeah.
Is he like the mastermind behind all this?
He is.
Okay.
The Book of Mormon really depicts him as this, like, archetype of evil.
Wow.
You know, he establishes this whole organization built on violence and greed and deception.
And this affects them for generations.
For generations to come.
Wow, so we have this society
Yeah.
on the brink,
Yeah.
full of corruption and violence.
Absolutely.
So what does Nephi do at this point?
Yeah.
You know, he's shown all this evidence.
Yeah.
He's given the warnings. He's even exposed this secret combination.
Right. What's his next move?
Yeah, what's next?
Well, he appeals to their sense of history.
Okay.
Their heritage.
Okay.
He reminds them that they come from believers, people who've seen God's power, who've been guided by revelation.
So he's not just telling them to believe.
Right.
He's reminding them of their own experiences.
Exactly. It's like he's saying, look, this faith is part of who you are.
Yeah.
Don't turn away from it now.
That's powerful.
It is.
Because it's not just rules or punishment.
Right.
It's this connection to something bigger.
Exactly. A heritage worth preserving.
And yet they're about to lose it all.
I know. It's like they're so caught up
Yeah.
in this worldly stuff,
Yeah.
power and pleasure. They've lost sight of what matters.
It's like that verse we read,
Yeah.
Helaman 8.25,
Uh-huh.
about laying up treasures in heaven.
Right. Versus heaping up wrath for the day of judgment.
That's a powerful image.
It is. It's about choices.
Yeah.
What we prioritize.
Where we put our hope.
Exactly. And he's presenting them with a stark choice.
Okay.
Fleeting gratification of sin or the joy of righteousness.
And this choice echoes throughout Scripture.
It does. And it's still relevant to us today.
It is.
What do we treasure?
Yeah. What do we invest in?
Where do we put our hearts?
Wow. It's like looking in a mirror,
Isn't it?
seeing them in their problems,
Yeah.
wondering where we fall short.
It is, and that's why this is all so relevant to us today.
Yeah.
It gives us insights into human nature, how societies decline, and the importance of righteousness.
And I can't wait to unpack those more
Me too.
in the final part of our discussion. You know, as we've been talking about Nephi and all of his warnings to this corrupt society, it's hard not to think about our own world.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You know, the challenges they faced feel so relevant to what we're seeing today.
Absolutely. These themes of like corruption,
Right.
you know, the struggle between good and evil, the
Yeah.
consequences of rejecting truth. I mean, those are things that we see everywhere.
The timeless.
Yeah, they transcend time and culture. You know, human nature.
It doesn't change.
It really hasn't changed all that much.
It's a little disheartening when you think about it.
It is.
You know, leaders abusing power, people prioritizing themselves over the common good. This growing, you know, disregard for morals and principles.
Yeah, it's like history is repeating itself.
But with, you know, new faces and technology.
Right. Different packaging, same problems.
That's why these texts are so valuable.
They really are.
They give us this lens to examine our own society.
It's like a mirror
Right.
reflecting back at us.
To see these patterns of decline.
Exactly. And to help us make better choices.
So what can we do?
Yeah.
I mean, how do we apply these lessons from Nephi
Yeah.
to our own lives and our communities?
Right.
It can feel overwhelming.
It can.
Like one person can't make a difference.
Right. But I think one of the key takeaways from Nephi is this idea of individual accountability.
Okay.
You know, we can't just sit back and expect others to fix everything.
We have to do our part.
We do. Each of us has a responsibility.
To live with integrity.
Yeah, to stand up for what's right.
To speak out against injustice.
Exactly, even when it's hard.
And that's not always easy, is it?
No, it's not. It's like swimming upstream sometimes.
It takes a lot of courage.
It does. It takes
to
conviction.
challenge the status quo.
And yet, Nephi shows us it's worth it.
It is.
Even small acts of courage can have a ripple effect.
You know, it's a powerful reminder
It is.
that even when surrounded by darkness,
Mm-hmm.
we can be a light,
Yes, we can choose to inspire others,
make a difference.
work towards a better future.
I love that.
It's a hopeful message.
It is. And it goes beyond any one religion.
I think so.
It speaks to what it means to be human.
Yeah, to be good, to seek truth, and to make the world better.
That's beautifully said.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for taking us on this journey through Helaman.
It's been my pleasure.
We hope you found it insightful and thought-provoking. And don't forget to subscribe to our podcast for more discussions just like this.